This is the Blaze Radio on demand.
Hi, I'm Ron Paul, former congressman and presidential candidate. I'm here to tell you about a product that might just save your lives. It's a home freeze dryer from Harvest Right. With this great product, you can freeze dry the foods your family loves, and it will last for 25 years. Our ancestors preserved and prepared for difficult times, shouldn't we? To learn more, go to harvestright.com or call 800-594-4635. That's 800-594-4635.
Charles Koch, one half of the evil Koch brothers, said Hillary might be a better option for the GOP than Donald Trump. Talk about that. Some important developments right now for the race of the White House. Kasich and Cruz are teaming up now against Donald Trump. We start there. And the choice we face. How do we arrive at a solid decision? Who are we, and how can we find that answer anymore? A reflection from Passover, right now.
I will make a stand, I will raise my voice, I will hold your hand, 'cause we are one, I will beat my drum, I have made my choice, we will overcome, 'cause we are one.
The fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Friday night, I went to a Passover dinner at a Jewish friend's house, and it was as I felt it was last year when I went. It is truly remarkable because it is a 6-hour meal that is all about ritual, and it is all about the story of the exodus of Egypt and the Jewish people. And David Barton went with me. And so we were sitting next to the table, and we were talking the whole time and saying, this is the problem with America. There are no rituals anymore. There's nothing. There's nothing that teaches us who we are. In fact, there is everything in our life teaching us the exact opposite of who we are. Rituals were in our life for a reason. It's like what happened to the Grimm fairy tales. They used to teach us something, that life outside is scary and rough. But we've Disneyfied all of them, so the lessons have been lost. These rituals were in our lives for a reason, but now the past, people tell us, has nothing to teach us now. This is a real problem. The rituals in our church is gone. There are no more rituals in church. The church is conformed to the world. The silence of reflection has been replaced with lights, a fog machine, and a band. The respect for the sacred is gone. It has conformed. Our music is filled with sex. Our radio stations are the same. Our television shows are the same. We tolerate it. Our schools no longer deal with kids that maybe set off a smoke bomb in the bathroom. But now our schools are dealing with kids in middle school that are having oral sex, which, by the way, I want to remind you, is not really sex. And even if it was sex, it doesn't matter because sex isn't even sacred anymore. Our rituals are gone. The ritual of coming together and having dinner for a family meal is all but gone. The sacredness of the family is mocked. Mom is okay. I mean, as long as she puts her career ahead of her family and she doesn't really need a man, then mom is okay. Men have been mocked and ridiculed for so long and are being told you need to be more like a woman. Dads aren't needed anymore, and we wonder why. We wonder why there's so many children without fathers. But really, the truth is, now with modern science, you don't even need a mom or a dad. You don't need a male or a female to have children. We can just mix your children up in a petri dish from the DNA of up to 3 different people and then plant that DNA into your grandmother's womb so she can carry the baby for you. And by the way, when I say you, I don't want to say that it was going to a traditional family, because that would be wrong. I mean you as in you and your partner. Could be same-sex, could be traditional, could be single, doesn't really matter. All choices are good. And by the way, you can have a child. You can have a child. Have a child. Not raise a child, not shepherd a child, not even care for a child. But in our arrogance and in our greed, you can have a child, because that child really says it's more like an accessory for your life. A new friend, a pal. I don't know if you're keeping track, but anybody who's keeping track, we're now up to 89 different sexes. I still only know 2, but we're up to 89 now. And everybody can use a bathroom, any bathroom. And depending on how you feel that day, because you're probably pretty fluid. Isn't that why you were going to the bathroom? You have a lot of fluids in you. So you're very fluid. Whoever you choose to identify as today, and nothing will go wrong with that. Today you're gender fluid, so choose your own bathroom. I know our common sense is fluid. You can choose your own common sense. Our TV shows, I can't take it anymore. I think I may have to give up the BBC. Because the BBC, I've been watching things like Doctor Who with my son. I've been watching Torchwood with my son. Try watching Torchwood, a spin-off of Doctor Who. Can't do it. Can't do it. It's riddled with sex, and all the women have to experiment by having a lesbian affair, and the main character I'm telling you, on show after show after show, Pat's been watching The 100. Pat, are there any relationships on the show?
Yes. There's 2 relationships they're featuring right now. Both are homosexual.
Both are homosexual. It's your choice. Wait a minute, I thought it wasn't a choice. Why are you teaching people that you should choose to experiment when you said it wasn't a choice? Wasn't this the argument that I made? No, it's a choice now. You can choose whatever you want to be, whoever you want to be with. Even the way you are born is no longer sacred. I thought you were born that way. No. And it doesn't matter how you're born, because you could change anything now. And maybe this began when we began to cut our faces up to look like somebody else. Somebody with a better nose, somebody younger, somebody more famous. Our body is a temple? No, not anymore. Not unless you can poison the temple, degrade it and deface it. Then your body is a temple. I was with my son this weekend. It's father-son weekend. Girls are out of town. I had time with my son that I never had with my father. And even though I look back and my head tells me, yeah, your mom committed suicide, you and your dad didn't really hit it off. It was really kind of a crappy childhood. I pine for the days of my childhood. I pine for the days when the worst thing you could have caught us doing at the time was smoking a pack of cigarettes. Maybe, when we got really crazy. I pine for the days when my dad walked me half a mile. I was probably 6 years old. I had to walk about a half a mile back to this grocery store. It was a corner grocery store. My dad and I had gone up for a carton of milk, something else, and I was standing there at the counter, and they had the little bazooka gum. And I took the bazooka gum, and I just put it in my mouth. Halfway home, my father said, "Where'd you get the gum?" I said, "It was at the counter." He said, "You didn't pay for it." I said, "I didn't know." He made me walk all the way back with him and pay the guy a penny. Not tomorrow, today. I miss a time. I don't miss necessarily the shows, but I miss the time when when Gunsmoke was still relevant, when you still knew people who knew what it was like to live in the days when things were tough and real. But those days are gone. The family hour was ruled unconstitutional. The Sunday driver, my kids don't know what a Sunday driver is because they've never even heard of the blue laws. And while I agree with the courts on both of those things, part of me says we needed those laws to be able to hold our culture and our people together. Because we don't have any rituals to do it. We don't choose to do anything to hold us together. Even the rituals of getting old. The ritual of actually getting old and spending Sunday with your grandparents, going to dinner with the family on Sundays, and the rituals of your grandmothers actually looking their age. Grandmother is a thing of the past. Do you know anybody who still is a woman and lets her hair go gray or even white anymore that isn't like 95? You know any grandmother that actually looks like a grandmother anymore and is proud of it? Do you know any grandmother who likes to be called grandma? Fewer and fewer every day. We no longer have any meaningful rituals on the 4th of July. What is that? We listen to James Brown. Oh, we listen to the fireworks go off to Born in the USA, an anti-American song. And then we go on a picnic, maybe. We go water skiing, maybe. We drink beer, maybe. And then we listen to anti-American songs with fireworks. Happy 4th of July. Easter is about egg hunts. Try explaining that. I tried to explain that to my children the other day. Why are the eggs? Why the bunny? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't have any idea why there's a bunny. I have no idea. Oh, well, the egg is the new birth of Jesus. Shut up. Thanksgiving is about turkey and football. Christmas is about Santa. Truth is gone. Justice is a joke. And nobody even knows what the American way is anymore. Hope? Have you read the news lately? Hope? Where do we even find hope? Our society isn't screwed up because of our government. Our society is screwed up because we're screwed up. You get hope from remembering who we really are. Who we really are. The power of the individual. You can't remember who we are as Americans unless you remember who you are as a person. You can't know who you are as a person unless you know who you came from. Who you are, who does your soul belong to? And that leads you right to the Declaration of Independence. That there is a creator, and he created you, and he gave you certain rights. And it's your job to establish a government that protects those rights. Is there a reason we took a 5,000-year leap? That 1791, those rights were spelled out, and we had established a government to protect those rights, and within 100 years, the world went from the way it had always been. We went from the campfire at night to the light bulb. We went from the outhouse or crapping in the woods because we didn't even have a shovel, an outhouse to indoor plumbing. We went from the fire to a furnace. We went from whale oil to gasoline. We went from the handwritten letters to the telegraph and the telephone. Within 100 years, a 5,000-year leap. Why? Did that just magically happen? Or was there something that protected the rights of the dreamers and the doers that said, I have a better way? That something happened, that those dreamers said, I can actually do this now. You know, I read a story this weekend about Microsoft. Bill Gates just said the biggest mistake he ever made is when he started Microsoft, and for the first 10 years or so, he didn't hire a lobbying firm because his idea was the government has nothing to do with my business. Listen to what I just said. Microsoft, Bill Gates said the biggest mistake he ever made was he didn't hire lobbyists because his idea was that government had no place in his business. Apple, on the other hand, went ahead and hired a lobbyist firm. You want to start a business? You think we're going to take another 5,000-year leap? You think we're going to cure cancer? You think we're going to go to Mars? You think we could ever colonize Mars? No. No, not as long as you have government being that portal on everything. You think we're going to put Apple out of business with the next great invention? No, because Donald Trump will do it. Hillary Clinton will do it. I'm going to bring these Apple jobs back to America. Well, I read another story about the most secret Apple manufacturing plant in China. You know why it's secret? Because they're working 60 hours a week with slave wages. They can barely feed themselves. You know how much an Apple iPhone costs now? $650 is the base. $800 is the top end. Do you know what the $650 phone would go for if you brought those jobs back to America? Because that's what Donald Trump is. He's going to force those jobs back here. He's going to bring those jobs back to America, and the crowds cheer. How much would your Apple iPhone cost? $2,000. For the $650 model now. Oh, I can't wait for those jobs to go back. When they come back, then we'll be able to buy that $2,000 phone, which Apple won't make because they'll go out of business. That's what happens when the government doesn't protect rights, but decides to pick winners. America is at a point of choosing. First thing that has to happen is you got to wake up to who you really are and where we came from, so then we can chart a course forward. Now this, how many smartphones in your family? You know how much you're paying for phone insurance, all those phones? Do you even have phone insurance? Every 2 seconds, somebody breaks a smartphone. You need the phone protection. Verizon and Sprint can charge $11 or more per month per phone. Why? Because they're making money. The insurance company works for them, not for you. A family of 4, that's $44 a month. And then you have a $199 deductible when you break your phone. But Square Trade is different. They work for you. Their family protection plan is less than $4 per phone. A family of 4 can save $500 a year, and that's not counting the deductible, which is $100 less. Do the smart thing. Don't overpay for phone insurance. Be that person and do it today. Go to squaretrade.com. That's squaretrade.com.
The fusion of entertainment and enlightenment.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Mercury.
The founder of this company 10 years ago was trying to sell his house. He's kind of an important guy. And he said to his wife, if this is what it's like for us, how do people who have no clout ever get around this? So he started a company and it went into business, I think 3 years ago. Their deal is their word is their bond. And they are people that listen to this show. They are just like you. Now, how can I say that? Because I'm the founder of the company. realestateagentsitrust.com.
You're listening to the Glenn Beck Program.
Welcome to the broadcast, to the program, to the show. Glad you're here. So let's talk a little bit about the Cruz Kasich announcement that was just made. Do you still have that paper that I gave you? Yep. Okay. I want to read the actual statement. Having Donald Trump at the top of the ticket in November would be a sure disaster for Republicans. Not only would Trump get blown out by Clinton or Sanders, but by having him as our nominee would set the party back a generation. To ensure that we nominate a Republican who can unify the Republican Party and win in November, our campaign will focus its time and its resources in Indiana and, in turn, clear the path for Governor Kasich to compete in Oregon and New Mexico. We would hope that allies of both campaigns would follow our leads. In other states holding their elections for the remainder of the primary season, our campaign will continue to compete vigorously to win. So what are they saying here? Is Kasich making a path in Indiana?
Yeah, so Kasich clears out of Indiana. Cruz clears out of New Mexico and Oregon. Now, what's amazing about this, to show you how important Indiana is, Cruz is probably the favorite in New Mexico and Oregon, certainly over Kasich. I mean, he would be fighting it out.
But
he's willing to cede states. It's close with Trump. But if anyone's going to beat Trump in those two states, it was probably going to be Cruz. So Cruz is essentially ceding two states he'd probably win. And the reason for that is delegate rules, that it's a proportional delegate rules there. So it's probably not going to be as damaging. But you have 57 delegates in Indiana.
Oh, he needs to win
in Indiana.
He needs a big win in Indiana.
Kasich needs to get 0% in Indiana, and Kasich is telling you that.
I want to talk to you a little bit about how amazing this campaign is and how every state counts when we come back.
You're listening to the Glenn Beck Program.
Mercury. The Glenn Beck Program.
I want to talk to you here about something that I thought of this weekend. You know how I've said in the past that there's no excuse for us anymore. For instance, when we talked about the Nazarene Fund, I talked about back in the 1940s, we didn't know. We really didn't know. The government hid it from us. The news was there, but very few papers would even pick it up. I mean, the actual hard evidence, it was there. It was there in 1940. By 42, we had a lot of it close to the press. By 1944, you could have done a documentary film on what we had. But the people didn't know. And every time a piece of it would come out, it would be denied. And because we only had official channels at that time, you can't really hold our parents and our grandparents, at least in this country, responsible for the Holocaust and say they knew, they didn't. You can hold FDR accountable because he knew, but the people didn't. And when we were talking about the Nazarene Fund, I said at the time, we don't have that anymore. We don't have that excuse. We know. And the internet has made each one of us accountable. And I really think we're going to get to the other side. And you say, I didn't know that was going on. Really? Didn't you have a cell phone? Did you have one of those smartphones that you could watch anything, that you could research anything? What were you using it for? You were sexting, that's right. Oh, you were using it to play Candy Crush. We have responsibility. We talk about rights, but we have responsibilities. And I think that we are living in a time where we're not accountable for anything. But I really, truly believe God or the universe is making sure all of us are accountable. Let me say this. Stu, do you ever remember Indiana making a difference in the election of the president?
I mean, in general.
Not in the general. Not in the general.
Not in primary. I mean,
primary.
Yeah.
It's always been Florida, New Hampshire,
Iowa,
South Carolina, and
Nevada.
And, New Hampshire and Iowa. Yeah, that's it. Really is the three. Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, then I think maybe it's Florida. But we've seen in time and time again, anybody who plays for Florida, it's over by then. Each time you think the momentum is going one way, it stops and goes the other way. And then something happens, and that momentum stops, and it goes the other way. Each time, how many times have we felt he's out? How many times have Trump people thought, oh boy, it's falling apart? And it doesn't. I think this is going to go all the way to California. And do you know why? My thought for you is God or the universe? You know, if you read the Bible as a history book, the patterns repeat. You can take out all the magic stuff if you want to go to talk about, a point of view like Hitchens or Penn Jillette. Take away all the miracles. Let's just look at this as a book that teaches societal patterns. The pattern is always the same, and the people cry out for a king. And God and some prophets always stand up and say, don't do it, don't do it. And the people cry out for a king. And God and some people stand up and say, don't do it, don't do it. But those people who are standing up are always in the vast minority. Don't do it, you don't want a king. And then usually the third time they cry out for a king, and God's like, whatever, you got a king. He doesn't stop your free choice. You have free choice. But because this land because we have a covenant with God that started with George Washington, because we have a covenant, I think before he withdraws his protection, he just wants you to be clear. And he doesn't want New York to decide for you. He doesn't want New Hampshire to decide for you. Florida, Iowa. I remember standing in front of the crowd in Iowa and saying, Iowa, you might make the choice. This will set a pattern. I said that in South Carolina as well. South Carolina, you might make the choice. And when South Carolina chose Trump, I thought they did make the choice. And then another state made a different choice. And then Utah made a choice. And then Wisconsin made a different choice. And then I thought, oh my gosh, look at Wisconsin just made the choice. But then New York made a choice. And now Indiana is going to make a choice. This thing is going to end at the convention, but it is going to end with each one of us having to decide and writing our name down. You want a king or not? Do you want to return to those principles or not? Do you care more about winning, or do you care more about the Constitution? You know, last week, the Attorney General in Texas was arguing in front of the Supreme Court. And the argument was about Obamacare. I'm sorry, no, it wasn't. That's another one. This one was about the illegal aliens and whether or not the president has the right to just sign all of the illegal aliens and make them legal. Just change the law. Now think of this. Just change the law. And the argument in the Supreme Court was, Your Honors, I want you to watch this video. Here's the president in the last 7 years saying, I wish I had a pen that I could just change the law and make these people legal, but I can't. I'm not a king. I'm not a tyrant. You know, I wish. People ask me all the time, why don't you just do it? Well, I can't. We have a system. We have a constitution. So here he is, Your Honors. He says, as the president, he can't do that because of the Constitution. But then he does it. And if you allow him to just do that, that means that any president at any time can write any law. That's not what an executive order is. The president cannot write laws. And I was talking to the Attorney General. I said, how do you think this is going to come out? And he just laughed and he looked at me. He shook his head. He said, I have no idea, Glenn. I have absolutely no idea. He said, maybe it'll be 4-4. That the president can write a law? That is a dictatorship. And let's take it away from Obama. Let's take it away from this particular thing on illegal aliens. Do you want President Cruz? Do you want President Trump? Do you want President Clinton? Do you want any president to be able to write laws himself? No. But that's what we're looking at. That's where we are. And all of us are going to be held responsible. Now, here's what's happening. Donald Trump has just hired teleprompter people to help him work on teleprompters. He's just hired speech writers. And these speech writers, they're all inside Beltway guys. He's just hired all these inside DC guys to work with him because he's decided he's going to play a different game now. And in his own words, I'm playing a role, and that has to change now. Playing a role? This is not a TV, this is not a movie. This is not a TV reality show. What do you mean playing a role? I thought everybody liked you because you said it like it was. Now, were you playing a role then, or are you going to play playing a role now? And are you going to stop telling us like it is, or are you going to start telling us like it is? Because the flip-flops that he's made in the last 72 hours are pretty important. But Donald Trump can just take and dump $20 million into this campaign. Everybody else is sitting on the sidelines. All the big money is sitting on the sidelines because why would I give you $1 million to put in your campaign where I'm not sure you're going to win? Then what do I get out of it? Think of that. What do I get out of it? Where are the patriots? Where are the people that say, my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor? You know what it is? The people who have the money no longer think that way. The people like you do think that way. You give until it hurts. You give $100 when you don't have $100. The big money sits off to the side and says, well, I want to be with a winner because I want something in return. Our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor. You know what Haim Solomon got? Haim Solomon was the guy, he's the reason why the stars and the flag are put in, in our seal, are actually put in the, if you look at the back of the dollar bill, the stars above the eagle's head, they're in the shape of the Star of David. And that's in tribute to Haim Solomon. He was the guy who cobbled together all of the money for the American Revolution. You know what he got out of the American Revolution? Squat. Zero. Broke by the end of the American Revolution. He lost everything. So did almost everybody else. I'm not going to give you $1 million because, well, what do I get out of it? I don't know, a country? What good is your money if you don't use it when your country is at stake? The biggest problem Bill Gates made was he didn't hire lobbyists. If we continue down this road, you're not going to be able to pursue your happiness and your dreams. Your children won't be able to start their own business and be better off. Our country won't be better off. You might as well go back to the Bell system. I met some couples this weekend. I went to the Tarrant County Tea Party rally. Some amazing people there. People there that are going to Indiana to volunteer their time. Don't have a lot of money. They're just going to volunteer their time. Some of them are going to California to volunteer their time. Now's the time to put your money or your time where our mouth is. Because everybody's going to be held accountable. Let's be that generation that says, once again, our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Because what we get out of it is freedom. Sponsor this half hour is Casper. This is the last week of April, and April is Stress Awareness Month. I don't know about you. Are you guys stressed at all? I'm not stressed. If you're not getting enough sleep, sleep can cause stress, and then stress results in more sleepless nights. Break the cycle now. Sleep on the most awarded mattress of the century, a Casper mattress. Time magazine named it its best invention of 2015. Their new sheets and pillows also keep you cool and balanced all night. Your Casper mattress ships for free in a surprisingly compact box. It's unbelievable. Easy to get into the bedroom and get the box on top of the box spring or the bed frame. You cut that box open and it just springs out and you can't believe it's in this little teeny box. Go to Casper.com and use the promo code BECK for $50 towards the purchase of your mattress. I sleep on one. Pat sleeps on one. Try it in your own home for 100 nights. They'll pick it up for free. They'll refund every dime. They want to make sure you love it as much as we do. Casper Mattress. It's Casper.com. Casper.com. Terms and conditions do apply. Offer code is BECK for $50 off. It's Casper.com.
This is
The Glenn Beck Program. Mercury. The Glenn Beck Program.
Today at the top of the second hour, which is coming up in just a minute, we have the history of terrorism in America. When did this start? How has it mutated? And what are we dealing with today? Our series on terrorism this week, 4-part series. It begins in just about 11 minutes from now. Stu is reading a story. I haven't read this story from MSNBC. Politico,
yeah.
On Roger Stone, that Roger Stone, who was a Nixon operative and a very good friend of Donald Trump.
40 years.
40-year friend.
40-year friendship and employee of Donald Trump's. And he left the campaign early on in the cycle. He was the campaign manager initially. Left the campaign cycle early on. Trump said he fired him. He said Trump was lying. There was a whole controversy at the time. And so the reason why Roger Stone says he says he left was because Trump wouldn't do what he's doing now, which is professionalize his campaign. He just wanted it to be a bunch of people like Corey Lewandowski and spend no money and just go on TV and answer everything on Fox and Friends. And so this new thing happening now is essentially, by this article's telling, and it's an interview with Roger Stone, is essentially Roger Stone's doing. Like Trump is now coming back to the Roger Stone way of doing things. He's hiring speechwriters. He's hiring teleprompter experts. He's hiring, data people, and he's trying to professionalize his campaign. An amazing point in there, though, is this anecdote on abortion that we should get to, because it's an amazing thing where he's basically saying his conversion story isn't real, or it's not true the way he's told it, which normally would be a major thing coming from your campaign manager. But I think he's trying to make it endearing, which to me, I just see it again as yet another lie from Donald Trump.
The real main thing here is that Roger Stone is the campaign manager by default, if you will, orchestrating this. And all of the people now surrounding him are all insiders.
This is the Glenn Beck Program. Mercury.